2, whoo!
Welcome to Authenticity Lab, a podcast where we celebrate the reconnection with our authentic selves. I'm Dr. Kelsey Miles, a musician, a songwriter, and also a chemistry professor. Each week, I share a new story and I break it down using the scientific method. You see, I use science and music to help me understand my world within and the world around me. My hope is that every episode will inspire you to live more boldly, lead a life of curiosity so you can be the truest version of yourself. And that's really the most beautiful gift you can give yourself. And it's the longest journey that you'll ever take in your life. In today's episode, we're talking about uncertainty. And this idea that uncertainty, what if it's not a problem that you need to solve? What if uncertainty is a place where you get to practice, a place where you get to get in alignment with yourself? It's nothing you need to fix. It's a place where you get to explore. This episode is for you if you like to overthink things. Like if you've been writing an email and you keep tweaking it, you save it in your drafts, you know you need to say this thing to this person, and you keep tweaking it and keep tweaking it. And you are thinking of ways in which you know you're going to sound when you send it. And maybe you talk to a friend and you keep going back to it, but you never really hit send. Maybe eventually you do, but it's not quite right. And you know it isn't. This overthinking process, we all do a lot. And we think that we just need to get clear on what we need to say, and then we can send it. It's only a thought process. And this episode, I'm going to talk about this nuance where maybe it's not you needing to get more clear. Maybe you feel uncertain because you need to get in alignment. You need to get in the right resonance with yourself so that it comes naturally. That's what we're talking about today. So my hope is that this episode I can really parse out this nuance between our ego, or the thinking brain, the one that likes to overanalyze and really think through everything, and the part of ourselves, that lighthouse within we've talked about on previous episodes. The lighthouse within, the alignment with our truest self, how alignment actually can get us to be. How alignment can allow us to, how alignment gives us clarity. So I've been working on for months now this thing called a one sheet. And I've been trying to figure out how to merge my music and also my science background and give keynote speeches and concerts. And the way that you would promote something like this is through a one sheet. And I joined the National Speaking Association of Kansas City, and I'm on the board now, and I've learned so much from this group. And I've been thinking about this one sheet for months now about what's my offer. You know, I've got this I Am Lyrical experience where I take everyone through my entire album. I've also done workshops. I did a workshop on ICU and self-celebration. And I also am trying to figure out how to merge them and what is my target audience? Like, who actually wants this? I even don't know my target audience for this podcast. I think being your authentic self is something everyone can benefit from, and we all go through a lot of the same struggles in life. Just a little side note, when I think about not having clarity and just going for it in uncertain moments, I think about starting this podcast. And I felt like I wanted to share this idea about the scientific method and how you can use it in life. And part of why it was so easy for me to just go for it was because I didn't need permission from anyone. No one needed to hire me to do the event. I could just start my camera, start my computer, and record and put it out there. And of course, I hope that this podcast will grow, but I'm doing it just because I know that it will help someone out there, because I know it helps me. And in a way, I was able to experiment and just try something, even though I wasn't sure about it. Through the process of trying this podcast, I've gotten way better at editing my audio, way better at communicating my ideas. In fact, a friend of mine told me that it didn't sound very natural the first couple podcast episodes, and I really appreciated the feedback because I didn't feel natural. I'm getting better at it, and she suggested I look at the camera and I consider her being the camera, and so that's been really helpful. But the whole reason I'm bringing this up is because often we overthink on things that are important and have some external ramifications to it. So the email that you want to send and you keep editing it, someone's going to receive that email and you want a certain response and all that. So this is really where we start to overthink, and we do things like freeze. We keep editing something and we don't just pull the trigger on it. So this one sheet was my place of freeze in this uncertainty. Because I didn't have my target audience, and I also have all these external thoughts coming in that are just clouding everything for me. I'm a chemistry professor and I'm also a musician, and how do I blend these two together? And who actually wants to hire me to come to speak at their event or to play my music? And I could do workshops, or I could do this concert with my full album. And while I was doing all this, I'm trying to write this out, and I'm trying to figure out which pictures to use. And I just kept overthinking it. And the uncertain phase was really uncomfortable. And I started putting pressure on myself to get it done. And so I would put this on my calendar of I need to have it sent to this friend of mine to review by this date. Deadline would pass. And then I would feel shame. And so I'd put it back on my calendar. I'm going to finish it by this date. It has been on my to-do list for a long time. And guess what? I did it. I got it done. So let me tell you the experiment that I set up. And not only did I finish it, this is the coolest part. Not only did I finish it, but it's something I'm really, really excited about. I'm not feeling the need to do all of those edits and second guessing because I got in alignment. The clarity I gained didn't come from me thinking about it and talking to more people, although that did help to some extent. Talking to more people also made me question myself more. The way that I got clarity was going through the uncertain phase and sitting in it. And saying the reason I feel uncertain is because it's not quite right. No amount of overthinking about all of what the external things, like what would someone want to hire and what would all of those things. That's great to think about, but I need to make sure it's coming from me. So when I set this experiment up, the way it kind of happened was that I kept trying and failing. I kept trying and it didn't work out, and it kept being in a draft, and I kept missing my deadline. And that might be a cue for you if you're waiting on something or haven't quite finished something or in freeze mode with something. It's not so much that you need to put more pressure on yourself to do it. It could be that you're just out of alignment and you need to get more clear by trying this. So what I did was I threw out everything that I had done. I just threw it out. And I sat there with this blank page and I thought, what do I want someone to open when I send an email? What sounds like me? And so I really focused on that feeling as I wrote it. I really focused on what, and I'd write something and I'm like, oh yeah, that feels good. I can say that out loud. And so I would write something, I'd say it out loud and I'm like, yeah, my body liked that. That felt good. And so I kept doing that, kept writing it, and I kept moving things around. And then I was finding some testimonials so I could put that on my one sheet. And I had some quotes from articles written, and some people have said things in articles about me. And then I leaned into my student evaluations, and I have some testimonials there explaining how I can talk about complex topics and break them down into an easy to understand framework. And I thought, well, that's exactly what I want to do in my workshops. And so I put some student testimonials in there. And so I started to write this for like corporate events. And then I kept experimenting. I kept going back to the testimonials. And I thought, well, these are student testimonials. And a corporate event might not look at student testimonials as a source of authority. And so I sat there in my chair and I thought, well, who do I love talking to? Who do I talk to all the time that it never drains me? And I realized I love talking to my students when they come to me with life issues. I love talking to other colleagues and faculty members and how to teach. And I thought, well, maybe that's just where I start. So I drafted my one sheet to really focus on universities. So I finished my one sheet and lots of editing, but from a place of not overthinking what I should do and what I've been told to do, but from a place of what feels right to me. And when I did it through that lens, when I sat back, I had something that had actually crafted my message better, that had actually merged my music and science in a way that felt way more authentic than anything I had come up with before. The process of me doing it also didn't feel like pressure. I had removed the idea that it was something I had to solve, and I was like, I'm just going to try this. And so if I break this down using the scientific method, I observed that I was feeling really chaotic and overthinking everything. And my hypothesis was, why don't I just try it from a different perspective? Because if I keep missing deadlines and I'm overthinking everything, clearly that method isn't working. Let me try it from a different standpoint. My hypothesis was that at least I would learn something. I would learn something because nothing else was working. So my experiment was to write the one sheet more from my centered self, like what most sounds like me on this piece of paper. And the data I collected was that finishing the one sheet from this perspective felt really good. It felt really good. It felt peaceful. It felt peaceful as I was going through it. I absolutely lost track of time working on it because it was so much fun. That is not how it felt before. I was like pushing and I was overthinking and I was talking to everyone and it felt herky-jerky. And this process was nice and fun, easy, joyful. I mean, it was still work, but it didn't feel like work. And then when I draw a conclusion from this experiment that I ran, this is the most exciting part that I really wanted to share on this episode. The process of writing the one sheet from my most aligned state, really asking myself, does this feel right? Is this really me? Actually got me closer to understanding how I can merge my music and my science. How I view the world through both of these unique lenses. It actually gave me something I wasn't expecting. It gave me more of a foundation of why I want to do this and why I know I can help. It's not that I finished the one sheet. That was, my conclusion was that I went from an aligned place and I was able to finish it. That's not quite the conclusion I got. It's deeper than that. What I learned was that I learned something about myself that I didn't know I would learn from this experiment. And it helped me realize a very unique perspective that I know I can help people reach, which is their most creative self. And it's a way we can thrive in uncertain situations. I view the creativity of my music as the same creativity I use in the science world. And the depth at which that sat for me, this knowing, this sureness, was so calming. To have created this document was great, but it was actually the alignment with myself during a period of uncertainty that gave me the biggest gift. You see, when I moved away from thinking this is something I had to solve and it was bad and I needed to fix it, and I went, well, the old method isn't working. Let me get in alignment and see what happens. The peace I felt afterwards was beautiful. And the clarity that I gained about what I would like to keep adding to this world came from trying, came from doing. Clarity isn't necessarily something you get before you do. You have to do sometimes, and then you'll get clarity. This is much of what I talk about on every episode, but I'm highlighting, hopefully for you, that even though I'm a scientist and even though I know about this method, I still get stuck in the overthinking stages. I still forget that I need to just run an experiment. And the biggest takeaway I want to leave you with is that we really, as a culture, all of us view this idea of uncertainty as something we need to solve. And the faster we can adjust that, and the moment something feels uncertain, if we can invite this kind of playful, I wonder what I'll learn from this. The faster we get open, the faster we get in alignment, and then all of a sudden the new ideas flow. I was able to combine some things that I hadn't realized how similar they were. I was able to get more comfortable with being both a songwriter and a chemistry professor. In fact, it inspired me to go ahead and revamp my LinkedIn page and double down on who I truly am. I mean, I'm here on this podcast all the time talking about my authentic self. And I realized while writing the one sheet how much this is pushing me to get in full alignment. Otherwise, I'm going to keep creating things that aren't fully me. And I'm going to keep getting stuck. And I'm going to feel uncertain because the uncertainty is reminding me I'm not in alignment. Uncertainty isn't always something that needs to be solved. Sometimes it's there to have you pause. It was there to invite me to pause, get in alignment first, and then try something. And the clarity came from the experiment. Well, it is your turn for your life experiment. Pick something in your life where you're feeling uncertain, something that's kind of foggy. Maybe it is an email in your draft that you keep editing, or a conversation you keep wanting to have with someone, but you feel like you aren't clear enough yet. You're going to have to just try. You're going to have to try it. Now, one of the things we've talked about in a previous episode about setting up experiments is really looking at the careful setup of the experiment. In this one, I'm inviting you to set this experiment up from a place of looking at the uncertainty as a chance for you to get in alignment with yourself. Stop putting pressure on yourself to finish it and approach the uncertainty from a different point of view. Approach the uncertainty from a more open place. Let me get quiet. Let me see if I can take steps forward from a place that feels like me when I start to write it or when I start to have the conversation. Whatever this uncertain thing is that you feel. The idea is that the experiment is done from a place of alignment. And then don't judge the outcome. You're just going to collect the data, draw a conclusion. And that conclusion, you might find these little mini experiments happening. You start to get in alignment, you start to write the email, and then you go, wait, I'm shifting again, thinking of an external thing or thinking of what I should say. And so you might find yourself readjust. Keep coming back to, does this sound like me? Does this feel good in my heart? I also want to give you this journal prompt for this week, which could help you unlock that aligned place that you need for this experiment. This is from day 33 of my I Am Lyrical Journey. This chapter is called Exhale. So I'll put the song Exhale in the description for this episode below. Exhale is all about uncertainty. I'm not sure when you're going to be able to breathe out. All right, day 33. What would happen if, instead of viewing uncertainty as good or bad, you just viewed it as the true nature of life? It just is. How would this view change some of the uncertain situations that you're dealing with right now? How would that view change it? And that's really what we're doing in this episode, really coming from a place of it just is. We're not putting pressure on ourselves. We're getting aligned, and then that aligned action. Oof, you're going to learn so much, and hopefully you'll gain a clarity that you couldn't get from overthinking. I would love to know about your life experiment and how it worked out. Did you do it? Did you just try? Did you learn something? Please let me know how it went. You can email me at kelsey@kelseymiles.com. And also, if you have a friend or a family member who is sitting in an uncertain position, not sure what they want to do. I just had an idea about how I was talking with a student about not being sure what graduate school to go to. That's another uncertain one. And we overthink things all the time. When you're done overthinking, try it this way. And send this to someone that you know if you think they could get some value out of it. None of us are doing these life experiments alone. I want to thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of Authenticity Lab. I'll be back next week with a new life story to inspire you to live boldly, lead a life of curiosity, and keep being your most amazing, authentic self.
Yeah, that house will always call you.